We begin this overview with news about the Pacific diver from Neeltje Jans. Over the past week, the bird has not been reported at all, and now it turns out there is a chance that it may have already fallen prey to a seal. A report surfaced afterward from February 8th describing a diver-like bird struggling in the water, followed by a seal's head appearing next to it. The bird was later found dead, its carcass drifting away as gulls gathered around. It was also revealed that other water birds, including a great crested grebe in the same area, had fallen prey to a seal, something we don't hear about often. Since February 8th, the Pacific diver has not been seen again. In fact, the last identifiable photo of the bird dates back to January 31st. A video was recorded on February 5th, but in my opinion, it is too poor in quality to rule out a red-throated diver. However, a number of reliable birders still reported the bird on February 7th. If the bird is truly gone, it will be disappointing for some birders who are still traveling abroad. However, given the rapidly increasing numbers of sightings across Europe, we do expect another Pacific diver to show up in the Netherlands in the future. The great northern diver I found at the Paatswoldse Meer is still around. This week I even heard it calling, which was a first for me with this species. Unfortunately, the moment was quickly interrupted by pruning work, preventing me from making a recording. The bird was reported 58 more times this past week, bringing the total number of entries for this individual to 275. Quite a fun statistic for a self-found bird. Additionally, 2 more were reported from the Brouwersdam and another 2 from the Haringvliet. Out of the 4 lesser scaups believed to be in the country, 2 were reported this week, the well-known bird from the Vogelmeer and the one from the Frisian IJsselmeer coast. I managed to film the latter, finally getting some decent footage of a lesser scaup in breeding plumage. The only downside was that this particular bird, unlike most others in the group, consistently kept its head tucked into its feathers. Ah well, there's always something left to wish for. It was a great spot though. The group of ducks was relatively close to the shore when I visited, making them easy to scan. The group was also not that large, making the search straightforward. It was my easiest lesser scaup find ever. However, be cautious, there's also a hybrid tufted duck scaup swimming around, recognizable by its bright white flanks. Additionally, its flank slopes downward at the front instead of forming a straight edge like in lesser scaup, which also has a coarser marbling on the upper parts. Both ringneck ducks were seen again this past week. The bird from the dunes was on the dune lake this time, while the Herugewaard individual was once again swimming in one of the canals. When it's on one of the canal, you can get quite close views, though getting a good low-angle perspective can be tricky. The Baikal teal from North Holland was reported again on the 13th, at the abandoned field next to the roundabout. Where the bird was in the days before and after remains a mystery to me and the rest of the Dutch birding community. Or perhaps no one bothered to look? The Baikal teal from the Onlanden was only seen on the 12th this week, in the Letterbette. Even though this bird is unringed and in good feather condition, there is still some doubt about its origin. This has everything to do with another duck of the same age in the same area. It turns out that this second calendar year blue-winged teal, which was already quite late in its molt, is also missing its 4 outermost primaries on one wing. This serves as a reminder to always take reports of a bird being in good feather condition with a grain of salt, as in this case, it is clearly not. Such damage is hard to explain as a natural occurrence in the wild and instead seems more like a failed attempt at wing clipping. While I am glad to have footage of this plumage, it is disappointing that this bird won't make it onto the official Dutch list. And so, what does this mean for the unringed Baikal teal of the same age in the same location? I'll leave that question open. In my previous overview, I missed something, so I'd like to correct that. On February 7th, an American Wigeon suddenly reappeared in North Holland. The bird was easily observable, but, unfortunately, disappeared again the next day. It could very well be the same individual that was seen in Spaanwouden some time ago. I'm hoping for a good opportunity to film this beautiful duck properly this spring, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that it's still out there somewhere and will become a more reliable target in the coming weeks. The spectacled Eider is still swimming neatly off the coast of Texel, although rumors are now emerging that it may actually be an escaped bird. This assumption is based on the idea that the species is kept in captivity relatively often in the Netherlands and that this individual preens itself unusually frequently. But with an unringed bird in good feather condition, we will never know for sure. Is frequent preening a sign of captivity? I have never heard of that. If the bird is wild, it is, of course, thousands of kilometers away from its original range in much warmer waters, which could also affect its behavior. Perhaps its health is not entirely optimal, which might explain why it strayed in the first place. Moreover, there has never been a recorded escape of a spectacled eider in the Netherlands or surrounding countries, so that argument does not hold much weight either. Anyone can claim anything, but as long as the default approach remains wild unless proven otherwise, these people will need to provide better arguments and evidence. We haven't really discussed snow geese in the Netherlands this winter. That's mainly because semi-rare geese here tend to stay in the same location for months, making them feel less rare, at least to me. Snow goose may not entirely fit that pattern, as the bird seen in South Holland earlier this year disappeared quite quickly. One that has been much more sight-faithful is the individual residing along the IJssel near Deventer. There's also an unringed bird reported at Outdoor, though it is apparently known as an escape. How exactly that was determined, I don't know. If you have any more information on this bird, feel free to share it in the comments. Two birds that are still considered wild are currently in Friesland, north of the Tjeukemeer. However, with snow goose in the Netherlands, you never really know their origins. We do know that free-flying birds from the German feral population are occasionally seen here, especially in summer, though most of those are ringed. Additionally, a United States ringed bird was observed in the Netherlands in the 1980s, proving that true wild birds can make it here. But at the same time, the species is widely kept in captivity, and escaped individuals occasionally turn up, as evidenced by the closed ringed birds that appear now and then. Personally, I consider unringed birds to be wild, but if another American ringed individual shows up, like what happened with Rarest Goose, I will certainly go take a look. The Pygmy Cormorant in Lelystad is still present, often seen on the northern side of the area this past week. To reach that spot, you have to walk a short distance, but it usually brings you closer to the bird. On clear days, though, you need to be mindful of the lighting, as it can easily be against you there. The glaucous gull remains faithful to the harbour of Hermuiden, so there's not much new to report on this bird at the moment. The Iceland gull was not reported at all in Leiden and its surroundings this week, but an adult bird was found on the beach of Ameland. Whether this is the same individual from Leiden, slowly making its way north, I cannot say. But how amazing would it be to suddenly spot such a stunning adult gull with white wings standing on the beach? Next time though, let's make it an ivory gull, one that's actually twitchable of course. This week we had no fewer than 4 different hooded crows. The usual birds from Kwardehoek and Schiermonnikoog were reported, and for a while I suspected that the Drenthe bird might be the one from Schiermonnikoog, given the lack of overlapping sightings. However, this was proven wrong, as another hooded crow was seen in Drenthe again this week, albeit in a slightly different location. This could very well be the same individual, but in that case it is still separate from the Schiermonnikoog bird. A 4th individual was observed in Gelderland. A quick update on our Ameland hoopoe. To my great shock, it was not reported at all this week. Could it still be alive? We'll keep an eye on it. This week, several waxwing reports suddenly came in. Birds in Amstelveen and Utrecht were only heard, but individuals in Bodegraven and Groningen were actually photographed. Unfortunately, neither proved to be particularly twitchable. Only the Groningen bird was successfully twitched on one morning, but even then, the observer only managed a glimpse of a flying bird and a few calls. A shame, as we always hope for good photo opportunities with this species every year. A Richard's pipit suddenly turned up again. With the Overijssel bird not reported for quite some time, and the individuals from Vissemeer and Oudorp also no longer seen, a new bird was found at St. Philipsland. It was first reported on Waarneming.nl on Sunday, but it turned out that the bird had actually been discovered on Friday and shared locally, allowing for a successful twitch. Unfortunately, it seems that the hope for overwintering Blythe's pipit is not present. The Siberian lesser whitethroat in Didam was reported only 3 times this week, with the last sighting on the 11th. Could something have happened to this bird? If you visited and dipped, let me know in a comment below this video. The well-known Siberian Chiffchaffs in Utrecht and Limburg were reported frequently again this week, but keep an eye out yourself as well. These birds are becoming increasingly more common in the Netherlands during the winter. They seem to prefer wetland areas and don't shy away from foraging in reeds. On Brine Noord Island in Rotterdam, A European Serin has been present during autumn and winter for several years now. Surprisingly, this species has become quite difficult to twitch in recent years. This individual occasionally shows well near the allotment gardens. Unfortunately, it's a bit too far for me to make the trip, so I still owe you some footage of this species. The last Dutch bird in this update is a little bunting, a species that has been notably absent this winter. In previous years, there were always easily twitchable overwintering individuals, sometimes even multiple birds together, but not this year. And now, the bird in Oud-Beierland is also residing in a private garden, making access impossible. Yearlisters may have to wait until autumn before they can add the species. In the section on rare birds in neighboring countries, I have one exciting record for you. Poland's second ever dark-eyed junco. Could more American vagrants be overwintering elsewhere? We'll have to wait and see. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.